POWERLESS. Did you know that studies suggest nearly 1 in 10 people exhibit traits consistent with narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, and countless others display milder but still harmful narcissistic tendencies? These individuals often weave themselves into our lives in ways we don't initially recognize as toxic, until it's too late. Narcissists thrive on control, manipulation, and dominance, leaving their victims feeling powerless, confused, and emotionally drained. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of narcissism to uncover how these individuals secretly work to strip away your autonomy and sense of self-worth. By the end of this journey, you'll understand not only why narcissists want you powerless, but also how to reclaim your personal power and break free from their toxic grip. Narcissism is more than just arrogance or self-centeredness. It's a pervasive behavioral pattern that profoundly impacts relationships. At its core, narcissism revolves around an inflated sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy, and an insatiable need for admiration and control. While overt narcissists may flaunt their superiority through grandiose displays, covert narcissists operate in subtler ways, masking their manipulative tendencies behind charm, vulnerability, or victimhood. Regardless of their approach, all narcissists share a common goal: maintaining dominance over those around them. This desire for control manifests in hidden power dynamics that leave their victims questioning their reality, doubting their worth, and struggling to assert themselves. Understanding these dynamics is crucial because it sheds light on the mechanisms at play and offers hope for breaking free. The problem lies in how effectively narcissists manipulate others, creating a pervasive sense of powerlessness in their victims. Imagine waking up each day feeling like you're walking on eggshells, constantly second-guessing your decisions, or fearing the consequences of speaking your truth. These feelings are not accidental. They are deliberately cultivated by narcissists who thrive on keeping others off balance. A psychologist would explain that narcissists achieve this by exploiting vulnerabilities, fostering dependency, and undermining confidence. Over time, their targets begin to internalize the belief that they are incapable of making decisions, standing up for themselves, or thriving without the narcissist's guidance or criticism. The result is a deeply ingrained sense of helplessness that keeps victims tethered to the relationship, even as it becomes increasingly toxic. Let's explore the psychological tactics used by narcissists to maintain control, starting with one of their most insidious tools: gaslighting. Have you ever found yourself questioning your memory, perception, or sanity after interacting with someone? Gaslighting is a form of emotional manipulation designed to make you doubt your reality. For example, a narcissist might deny saying something hurtful, twist past events to suit their narrative, or accuse you of being overly sensitive or irrational. A psychologist would highlight that gaslighting serves multiple purposes. It erodes your confidence, forces you to rely on the narcissist for truth, and creates confusion that makes it harder to challenge their behavior. Over time, this tactic leaves you feeling disoriented and powerless, unsure of what is real and what isn't. Another hallmark tactic employed by narcissists is emotional manipulation, which takes many forms depending on the situation. One common strategy involves guilt tripping, using shame or obligation to coerce you into compliance. For instance, they might say things like, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this," or "You're so selfish for not putting my needs first." These statements shift the focus away from their behavior and onto your supposed shortcomings, leaving you scrambling to prove your worth. A psychologist would emphasize that guilt tripping exploits fundamental human emotions like love, loyalty, and fear of abandonment, ensuring the narcissist remains at the center of your universe. Similarly, they might employ passive-aggressive comments, backhanded compliments, or veiled criticisms to undermine your confidence while maintaining plausible deniability. Each of these tactics chips away at your sense of agency, reinforcing the belief that you are unworthy or incapable without their approval. Now, let's delve into another critical aspect of narcissistic behavior: their relentless need to create dependency. Have you ever felt like you couldn't function without someone else's input or validation? Narcissists excel at fostering codependent dynamics, positioning themselves as indispensable while simultaneously diminishing your independence. A psychologist would explain that this dependency is achieved through a combination of love bombing, devaluation, and intermittent reinforcement. Love bombing occurs during the initial stages of the relationship, where the narcissist showers you with affection, attention, and praise, making you feel like the most important person in their life. However, once they've secured your attachment, the tone shifts dramatically. Devaluation follows, leaving you feeling criticized, neglected, or unworthy. Intermittent reinforcement, the occasional return of affection or validation, keeps you hooked, desperate to recapture the highs of the love-bombing phase. Together, these tactics create a cycle of addiction that leaves you emotionally dependent on the narcissist, further solidifying their control. Here's where things get particularly alarming. Narcissists thrive on isolating their victims from external sources of support. Have you ever noticed how some people subtly discourage you from spending time with friends, family, or colleagues? Narcissists use isolation as a tool to weaken your social network, ensuring you have no one else to turn to for validation or perspective. A psychologist would stress that isolation reinforces dependency, making it harder for you to recognize the toxicity of the relationship or seek help when needed. They might frame their actions as concern. Your friends don't appreciate you, or jealousy. Why do you spend so much time with them? But the underlying motive is always control. Over time, this isolation leaves you feeling increasingly alone, vulnerable, and reliant on the narcissist for companionship and validation. Speaking of validation, let's talk about how narcissists weaponize attention to keep you under their thumb. Attention is currency in a narcissist's world, and they dole it out strategically to maintain power. For example, they might alternate between showering you with praise and withholding affection entirely, leaving you craving their approval. A psychologist would highlight that this unpredictability keeps you perpetually off balance, never knowing whether you'll be rewarded or punished for your actions. The constant uncertainty fosters anxiety and self-doubt, further eroding your ability to assert yourself or set boundaries. Additionally, narcissists often demand excessive attention from their victims, expecting them to prioritize their needs above all else. This dynamic ensures that you remain focused on pleasing them, leaving little room for your own desires or aspirations. Of course, none of this would be complete without discussing the role of fear in a narcissist's arsenal. Fear is a powerful motivator, and narcissists exploit it masterfully to keep their victims compliant. Whether it's fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, or fear of retaliation, these emotions serve as invisible chains that bind you to the relationship. A psychologist would explain that narcissists often use threats, whether explicit or implied, to maintain control. For instance, they might threaten to leave, spread rumors, or withhold financial support if you dare to challenge their authority. These threats tap into your deepest insecurities, making it harder to stand up for yourself or consider leaving. Over time, the fear becomes internalized, manifesting as chronic anxiety, low self-esteem, or even depression. As we continue unpacking the complexities of narcissistic behavior, let's pause for a moment to reflect on the key insight that narcissists thrive on creating dependency, and recognizing this pattern is the first step toward empowerment. Picture this scenario. Sarah had been in a relationship with a charismatic man named Alex for 5 years. At first, everything seemed perfect. He adored her, supported her dreams, and made her feel like she was the center of his universe. But slowly, cracks began to show. He started criticizing her choices, dismissing her accomplishments, and isolating her from her friends and family. Whenever she tried to confront him, he twisted her words, accused her of being irrational, or broke down in tears, claiming she didn't understand him. Eventually, Sarah realized that she had lost her sense of self in the process, becoming a shadow of who she once was. With the help of therapy and support from loved ones, she recognized the patterns of manipulation and dependency that had kept her trapped. By setting firm boundaries and prioritizing her well-being, she reclaimed her power and began rebuilding her life. Sarah's story illustrates a pivotal moment many people experience when dealing with narcissists: the awakening. Breaking free from a toxic cycle isn't just about walking away. It's about understanding why you stayed in the first place and addressing the underlying vulnerabilities that made you susceptible to manipulation. Were you seeking validation due to childhood trauma? Did societal pressures lead you to prioritize external approval over internal fulfillment? Identifying these factors empowers you to heal and prevents future entanglements with similar personalities. Setting boundaries plays a critical role in this process. Whether it's limiting contact, refusing to engage in arguments, or prioritizing your needs above theirs, boundaries act as a shield against further harm. They remind you that your well-being comes first, and that no one deserves to be treated poorly, regardless of their charisma or charm. Picture calculated tactics like gaslighting, emotional manipulation, and fostering dependency, creating cycles of powerlessness that are hard to break. Recognizing these patterns is essential, but true liberation lies in cultivating self-awareness and establishing boundaries. Healing from a toxic relationship doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, introspection, and often professional guidance. Along the way, remember that you deserve love, respect, and happiness. No amount of charm or manipulation should ever convince you otherwise. As you embark on this journey toward empowerment, surround yourself with supportive friends, family, or therapists who can guide you through the ups and downs. Every step you take brings you closer to a life free from toxicity and full of authentic connection. In closing, let's recap the key points discussed today. Narcissists secretly want you powerless because it reinforces their need for control, validation, and dominance. Their tactics, ranging from gaslighting and emotional manipulation to fostering dependency and isolation, are designed to keep you off balance and reliant on them. Recognizing these behaviors is the first step toward breaking free, but lasting change requires self-awareness and boundary setting. Healing is a gradual process, but it's one worth pursuing, not just for your mental health, but for your overall quality of life. Remember, you have the strength to overcome anything life throws your way, including toxic relationships. Trust in your resilience, and don't hesitate to seek help when needed. Before we part ways, I want to encourage you to share your experiences in the comments below. Have you ever felt powerless in a relationship with a narcissist? What helped you recognize the toxicity, and how did you find the courage to reclaim your power? Your story could inspire someone else who's struggling silently. Additionally, if you're looking for practical tools to rebuild your life, after a toxic relationship. Check out my other videos on overcoming narcissistic abuse and fostering healthy connections. Until next time, take care and trust that brighter days lie ahead. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video with anyone who might benefit from it. Together, we can make a difference. Narcissists